The views and opinions expressed on this station do not reflect the owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
You know, I figured it out. Why we didn't have a countdown into the show today was because the show was scheduled to start at 7 p.m. 7 a.m. So my apologies about that. I'm like, let me be real with the audience. Let me tell them what's up, right? I was like, there's no countdown. What's happening? But we're always on time anyway. We're here for you. So good afternoon to some of you, good night to others, and good morning to the majority of you. It is Friday the 13th, Friday the 13th of November in 2020. Welcome to the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House and Lindo's. I'm Jamal Hartman along with Carla Zool and the Jackster, Jackie Lambert. Thanks for making us part of your routine. If you haven't already, share the link, start a watch party, just get the conversation out there to your network. Good one for you today. We're going to be talking about, to close out the week, we're talking about empowerment. So another good one with Carla's Women's Empowerment Summit coming up tomorrow, which sure she'll discuss. So what does empowerment look and feel like? We'll have that conversation. The Daily Play, look, she got the easiest one ever yesterday. Everyone agreed with it, even her. So we had to put a trick behind it. So the Daily Play is another easy one. Where is it? So she'll be guessing where this particular picture is in Bermuda. So
and I got Jackie to help me. So Jack, we got this.
I think actually Jackie might get it very fast. I would be shocked if she.
It's from Somerset.
Oh, man, he was a Western person. But folks, I don't think that's going to help you though. Being a person from the West, I think your interest would help you. But look, let's get started. Jack is just quick programming note. Jackie is here, so she'll be on Fridays with us. And don't forget, if you haven't already, look at the bottom of the screen. Download the Full 100 Radio app for Android and Apple, or you can just go to thefull100radio.com to tune in. But we'll be having our first episode of the Daily Hour Unfiltered, and we'll actually been talking about something that was in, I think it was Bloomberg, if I'm not mistaken, but it was about UPS workers now being able to wear natural hair and facial hair. Now, I know the ladies may have a lot to say about wearing natural hair, but we never ever talk about the facial hair thing. And I have a lot to say about that even the example with the New York Yankees, like players that these big bearded guys, but the Yankees, I don't know if they do today, but they never allow players to wear facial hair, especially below the lip. And I am a big proponent of, if it doesn't impact your job, let it be. So that's what we'll be talking about. And I know Carla has a lot to say because when you look at it, colorism plays a role in that as well, and culture. So we're going to be talking about that. You want to get involved, make sure you download the Full 100 Radio app for Apple and Android. And Carla's going to be giving away some tickets for the Women's Empowerment Summit on the Daily Hour Unfiltered immediately following this show. So join us then. But first, we have a lot to talk about. It's Friday the 13th. Gotta ask you guys before we jump in. Does that mean anything to you? Because I see all these people acting like superstition is this and that. Does it mean anything to you?
Nope.
If anything, it means good luck. Friday the 13th. That's why I wear my black. Something good's gonna happen.
Oh, so black's a good color?
I mean, you know what? I'm not superstitious. I've opened umbrellas. Inside they have this thing, walk on your crack, break your back or something. I've split the pearls. In the South, split the pearls is a big thing. Do you know what that is?
No.
If you're walking and you see a sign and it has two pearls, then both of you should walk either between them or outside. One shouldn't walk on either side. And I've done that a billion times. I've broken a mirror. So Friday the 13th means nothing to me besides it's a beautiful day.
I guess I've been told that the Chinese don't like the number 13. Like if you ever been to Vegas, they don't use the 13th floor. I could be wrong, but it's something to do with the number 13. I don't know. I'm not a superstitious person like that. I think it more has something to do with our works rather than some date. But I could be wrong. I don't, somebody may have some good luck today, like Jackie said,
Like me, I'm hoping somebody mistakenly puts $1 million in my bank account. I'll withdraw that with the quickness.
Hey,
don't forget your friends in the
UK. Hey, cousin. Look, there's a lot of talk about a lockdown, right? And I want to talk about lockdown this morning. And there's rising cases. One in Bermuda as well, but in the US, they've been crazy rising. I think the UK set precedents with their lockdown for a month, even though, as Carla said, the rules were more relaxed than previously. I read a little something yesterday that said that the US economically is preparing for a 6 to 8 week lockdown. Now, I don't know how Bermuda would react, but what I will say is if the main players in Bermuda's economy, which are the United States, one, and the UK in terms of travel at least, I would believe that Bermuda is going to follow suit as well, even though there's only one case of local transmission. But my question is, there was a picture taken with the Premier David Burt last week and with some rugby people. And none of them had masks on, right? And when asked by Trevor Lindsay on, I think that press conference that no one is into anymore, he basically said, well, there were other pictures where we had our mask on. And I was so confused by his response because I'm like, I think when it comes to the lockdown and it comes to COVID and the mask or no mask, tell me if I'm alone, but absolutely nothing seems to make sense anymore.
So hold on. The pictures with the mask saved me from getting COVID.
That's what it's using to me. It's like, okay.
What's the point? What's your point?
Exactly.
This picture shows evidence that you didn't have your mask on, which means that you could have caught it. Not saying that because the players have been here for like a month or something before the actual event, so they've been here for a while. So if they had COVID, they don't have it anymore, and they've been tested a million times. So obviously they don't have COVID because they've got the little bubbles and stuff. But that comment makes no sense.
But even with the mask thing, I just find now it's becoming almost an accessory and an obligatory thing, because I've seen some government press conferences where they've taken pictures, some with mask on, all socially distanced, but some with mask on, some with mask off. And it's almost like, let's make sure we got a mask on pic so that no one can say that we didn't have one on. But I just think it's weird to me, from being in the UK and looking at Bermuda pictures and with the numbers being so low, it's bizarre how many people have to wear masks. That's how I feel from this land. But then people don't wear them right. So if you're going to wear them, why have them down here? Because your nose is out and it's supposed to cover your nose and your mouth. So if you're not going to do it right, why do it at all? That's how I feel about it. It's almost like it's just become a necessary, like me having hand sanitizer in every pic, because that's what you're supposed to do.
So, I mean, I don't know. I think you're right. That's the way it's coming across. But like, how do you feel about the lockdowns? Like if, yeah, and I go back to what we said yesterday with when we had former Senator Jonathan Smith on with dealing with COVID. When you look at places like South Korea and China, because of the ability to get people to comply, they were able to contain it, at least what's being reported. But here's that hypocrisy, our old friend hypocrisy that we keep encountering, right? The hypocrisy is that the cases in the US have risen like crazy over the last couple of days. And from what I've seen on the news, it's like, Dr. Fauci wonders of this because, as temperatures got cool, it got colder in the fall, we said this would happen. But, that our good friend hypocrisy, throughout the summer, when the president of the United States was having these events, people weren't wearing masks, fair enough. and they were labeled super spreader events. That hypocrisy that I'm seeing is you had how many people out celebrating a victory? A victory. Yeah, they had masks on, but are we really not going to talk about that? Are we really going to allow our bias to say that these things are not helping?
In
So
Bermuda or in the US?
in the US, I'm talking about
In the
people
US.
celebrating
Because
the.
it was both.
So then I'm moving to Bermuda. I'm bringing it home. So in a Bermuda context, you sell this idea that people are coming to Bermuda. Yes, they have to quarantine. We already know that people can test negative 3 times this time and then positive, right? At the end of the day, unless there are strict rules or adherence, then it's not going to go anywhere. And there's going to have to be lockdowns, which I don't personally agree with. But it's just, it's so contradictory and hypocritical the way that we've responded, at least in the West, to this entire pandemic.
You know what I don't get though? You have countries like New Zealand, or is it Australia, that with the female premier. Which country is it?
New Zealand.
And they did so well, right? Why can't people use countries like that as a model? Because they were strict, they were rigid, they cut it at the neck and let it die as such. I just see with so many different countries, UK included, just seems like they don't know what to do and trying to make everybody happy. Why not look at who did it right and follow that model? It may mean some pain for a little, but the long-term outcome, because if not, it's just gonna keep going on and on and on.
You act like you've never spent time around politicians. What do you mean look at how they did it and then do it too? That's not how politics works. Politics is about doing what I want to do that's in my best interest, not it's what's in the best interest of the people in the country. You know this.
Sorry.
Hey.
But you see
Well,
what
you
I'm
know
saying,
Trump
Tracy?
wasn't doing it. No, I get it. Like, but you can't expect Trump to do that. Trump wants everybody to be his cheerleader. So if you're out there cheering his name, he's gonna let you do your business.
But even
So,
in
like,
even in a Bermuda
what is it?
context, though, Jackie, even in a Bermuda context, it's I think
Yeah.
somebody said it in the comments, optics, right here. Tamara Richardson, optics. Once again, the government says one thing, they mandate even more things that feel safe, yet do completely different. And this is where we need to be honest. This is where we need to hold people accountable. And I think Mia was the person who called David Brett out about it first on his Twitter. Look, folks, I can't say it enough. But I have to be very clear when I say this so that people don't take clips and run with it. I don't agree with mask wearing. I don't agree with lockdowns. I agree with people using their brains and having common decency and respect for vulnerable people when it comes to this virus. So for me, for instance, I know I don't like masks, so I try not to. Yeah, I feel like I've almost been in prison this year because of who I live with. I can't put myself in certain situations, right? I get that. There's the decisions that I've made in the best interest of the people around me who may be vulnerable. I could be moaning and saying, "Oh, why I have to wear something in the grocery store?" Well, if it's a grocery store, they privately own it. Then they have a right to tell me put on my mask if that's the rules.
Here's the funny thing about grocery store. Yesterday I went shopping and they've already said, the major grocery stores, that they will not be forcing people to comply, right? So as a journalist, I'm an observer. So
yeah, journalist again, Carla.
I
Where's the laugh button? Oh, that's correct.
It's a clown, it's a real clown. But before, they used to sanitize your carts for you, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's at your own risk. But I watched a gentleman yesterday in the bread section, and he picked up all these pieces, all these bags of bread. And I don't know why he was looking at them, and put it down. And I said to my daughter, what if he hasn't sanitized his hands?
Mm.
Could he be passing it on?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, so does a mask make a difference? Because they're saying that it can be through touch. So it really makes you sit back and think. I wear the mask, but I don't go many places. So I just wear it where I have to. But it really makes you wonder if these masks are just paranoia mechanisms, if you're going to be socially distant. I have to say that. Because up underneath everybody, which I don't like, I would want you to wear a mask. I don't want you breathing on me. But
No, I got you. I mean, and I think when you look back at February, March, I think the contradictory reports regarding masks always had people, confused as well. 1 minute masks don't prevent it, the next minute they do. So it's some of the stuff that's coming from the experts as well. Let's go through some comments. Jackie, take the first three.
You best not locked on after a rugby tournament
Well, yeah.
and golf tournament.
Oh, right.
Go ahead, Jack.
His position in the first bit without the mask was such a short time as to be a very small risk. Real risks to catch the virus are dependent on the amount of time and how close the contact. Okay.
More new science, huh? Because before it was like, oh, the virus stays in the air this long, and you walk through certain airplanes, and you can catch it.
It could be a short time, but if you're standing next to a talker that's a spitter, now it's on my face, and I go and touch my face, and now it's on my nose and in my mouth, and now I have it. So,
well, I mean,
I'm scornful, so I'm just thinking about all you germs.
I'm wondering, does David Burt stutter and does he? Good morning.
No, he's good. He's good.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about the other people.
Yeah, no, I got you.
It's Friday. The fact that we do wear masks may be the very reason why it hasn't spread as fast as it could without them. But if government officials are walking around without them, how can they possibly mandate their usage? Can't take it seriously anymore.
Tamara Richardson says people have sacrificed greatly in an effort to protect others. People have died alone. Older relatives have gone without company, life events put on hold, and all willingly by and large. Yet here we are in the name of tourism and dollars. Oh, no, let's talk about it. Rick Olson, Carla.
If more flights are canceled, which is very likely, does it really matter if we go into a strict lockdown? Just wear your mask, in my opinion.
Yeah, Jackie, Kamiko.
Same like vaccine, can still pass it on if you have come into contact.
Yep. And Carla, Jennifer.
I've been wearing my mask since March, and I have sanitizer in my purse, and I sanitize when I go in and come out of a store. I have 2 friends here in Canada that have lost parts of COVID, that have lost maybe family, parents to COVID. And so I have been touched by this personally.
Interesting. Gotta get to the news. Let's go with one more comment. Faith there is a guilt. St. Lucia did it right. Low numbers, no deaths, but recently, unfortunately, people came into the island by a boat from another island, and now their cases are rising. So it looks like, people with borders shut have been able to keep it out. Mia Hartman, last comment before we get to the news. I feel the same way about the mask prisoner, but it protects myself. But going into certain grocery stores, the food courts are back open. Mask 0 cents to me. Some don't wash their hands properly. Carla, I just want to say to you, what you stated, it's like we literally live with the same type of governance and people. When I go to the grocery store now, there's no one there wiping it down. There's no one enforcing you to do the hand sanitizer. It's all on your own. And I'm fine with that because like I said, it comes down to just people being considerate. If we all were considerate people, we would not have to have rules, like seriously rules, folks. We wouldn't have to have them to adhere to.
But here's a quick food for thought. Think about it. If you have to go and do the spray, if the person's hands aren't sanitized before they touch the spray to sanitize the cards, you get my point? It's like you really start thinking on a very small level, because the person before you may not have had sanitized hands who touched the spray to sanitize the card, and you're touching that same spray.
Well, we don't use not just spray here. We have the wipes. Actually pick everything.
Maybe I overthink.
Maybe the UK needs to up their game a bit.
Yeah, that already. The Bermuda Police Service is able to report that a firearm and several rounds of ammunition were recovered during an operation this past weekend. The operation involved several units within the Bermuda Police Service, with warrants executed at multiple locations in the central parishes in relation to a number of ongoing investigations. It was during the execution of a warrant at a property on Elliott Street in Pembroke that the firearm and ammunition were recovered. The firearm is to be forensically examined to determine whether it may have been used in any gun-related crimes locally. 2 suspects, a 26-year-old and a 28-year-old male, were subsequently arrested in connection with the recovery of these items. However, that They both have been granted police bail pending further inquiries. A motorcycle and other items belonging to the suspects were also seized. Meanwhile, Assistant Commissioner of Police Martin Weeks appealed for caution for users of Bermuda's roads. He stated, between November 2nd and 9th, 30 people were charged and appeared in magistrate's court for traffic offenses. Of that number, 5 were charged with impaired driving and 25 for excessive speed, ranging from 59 kilometers per hour to 81 kilometers per hour. A total of $26,000 in traffic fines were issued over the same period. Fines as high as $1,500 were issued out in a number of cases. It has been proven that the two major causes of road collisions in Bermuda are driving while under the influence of alcohol or drugs and excessive speed. To this end, he says, as we approach the festive season, there will be a continued heightened presence on the road by our RPU team, and if you choose to flout the island's traffic regulations, you will find yourself appearing before the court. However, Mr. Weeks said the Bermuda Police Service would rather to work in conjunction with the community to make the roads safer. Kindness Day was born when a collection of humanitarian groups came together on November 13th, 1997, and made a declaration of kindness. Likewise, on Kindness Day, everyone is encouraged to make a similar declaration. Donating books, food, or clothes to your local charity is a great way to celebrate. However, pledging to commit just one act of kindness is no less worthwhile. Hold the door open for a stranger. Compliment Jackie and Jamal. You guys look so cute today. let your partner have the control to the TV remote for the evening. Turning to weather, Bermuda's high today is expected to reach 77, 83 in Fort Lauderdale, and 55 in Brighton, UK. And don't forget, starting today, join Jackie, Jamal, and I on the 4100radio.com for the debut of the Daily Hour Unfiltered, which starts immediately after this show. And then tune in from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Bermuda time for the office workout with Juggling Jason. That's your Daily Hour news break.
All righty. So, apologies to Carla. Juggling Jay did send me a message say he's out today, but that don't take away from your experience because it's going to be some unfiltered stuff. I don't know if you all follow Jackie on Twitter, but Jackie just taught me. Well, she did. Look, she just taught me. She was in Twitter jail last year this time, folks. Right? So I said, "What's Twitter jail and how do you get there?" We'll talk about that on the Daily Hour Unfiltered. All right. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll come back with the conversation of the day. We're discussing empowerment.
Good day, Medical House Doris speaking. Can I help you?
Medical House is Bermuda's leading one-stop shop for healthcare. Bermuda's top doctors, dentists, care homes, and the hospital choose Medical House for a wide range of products.
Anything that we ask them to do, they come through.
These same professional quality products are available to you for home healthcare.
If we can use them, we definitely do so.
Medical House is best known for its uniforms and footwear. It also has restaurant uniforms that stand up to even the toughest shifts. If you're on your feet all day, Medical House has comfortable and stylish shoes that are also durable and easy to clean. Everyone needs some help cleaning up, and Medical House has got it. Leading-edge janitorial, facility, and maintenance supplies are all here. Medical House is on Millreach Lane in Pembroke, where there's private parking right outside the door. Call or visit Medical House today.
Coconut oil has been popular here in Bermuda as a skin moisturizer for generations, but is sometimes avoided in cookery because of its unhealthy reputation. We've witnessed a change in attitudes as recent findings indicate that coconut oil is actually heart healthy and can enhance our immune systems, increase metabolism, energy and endurance, and improve digestion. Nutiva coconut oil is a superfood in its own right, and this month we're featuring Nutiva organic shortening made with organic coconut and red palm oils and also hemp seed oil. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
All right, welcome back to the big show. It's the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House and Lindo's. Carla Zool, Jackie Lambert, myself, Jamal Hartman. As Carla stated at the end of her news, don't forget, if you haven't already, download the app for the Full 100 Radio, available on Android and Apple devices. We'll be going unfiltered immediately following this show on the station, and we'll be discussing again, the just us. And when I say us, our ability to be ourselves in the workplace. So you don't want to miss that. Thanks again to Channel 82, who makes this show available for those who may not have internet access. If they have One Communication, so everyone at Crimson Multimedia, thank you to them for giving us the opportunity to share these conversations with so many other people. But on that note, Carla is actually hosting. Is this the 5th year or 6th year?
It's the 5th year.
5th year Women's Empowerment Summit. And so we're going to talk about women's empowerment. I mean, I really have no business in a conversation like this, but obviously I want to know if there is a role that a man plays in empowerment, and get an understanding of what the audience, what they deem, what is empowerment, what does empowerment feel and look like. So without just jumping into it, like Jackie, Carla, you're both the women of this show. What is it like? What is empowerment? What do you think empowerment is supposed to be and look like?
You go first, Carla. It's your
Well, I mean, thanks for having this conversation, Jamal. You're always surprising me. For me, empowerment has different faces depending on what's around. So in a professional sense, as a woman on the Daily Hour, empowerment is allowing me to be the space, like for the males in my life, in that context, the space for me to be me, because I think sometimes women are misunderstood, as are men. But in the context of women, social media, when it first came out, I have to go back when I first had social media, and my partner at the time would always, like, I was trying to build a brand and people didn't understand it. So if you're trying to do something in your professional life and your partner, it could, or your brother or your dad, whichever, is not supporting you, or whoever's in that space, that can have an effect on your mental, because it makes you doubt yourself. On a personal level, women's empowerment for me is allowing a female to be her, especially with Black women. We get labeled with all these names if we're angry, or, or if a woman is crying, she's dramatic. So for me, it's ultimately allowing a woman to be herself in the space that she's in.
Mm-hmm. Jackie, you're smirking.
Because my experience is a little different. Like, so I grew up in a family business. Like, even though my dad worked hospitality, he always had his own tennis company. So we ran Elbows. So growing up under him as all girls, he had no choice but to learn how to push his daughters to do better. Like, he knew what it was like, where you're always going to come up against a male, and how you have to push and bring your girls with you. So he'd always say, the guys are getting more recognition in tennis. You girls need to go out there and fight, and you need to fight for a spot at the table. And if they're not listening to you, be louder. If they're still not listening to you, go and win more tournaments. And when you do your interviews, put it in the paper that the females need help. Go out there, even if you're fighting against the females that you're playing against, fight for them and then bring them along. So I don't know. I was raised to, like, in a safe space. So my experience is a little different.
Your experiences are different, but I want to touch on your father, though, because, and I'm not saying I this is my only comparison, so it's not saying it's the direct one, but it reminds me of the Richard Williams, Serena Williams situation, where he look, go out there, compete, and if we want to be recognized like the men, then let's just win, let's get those spaces, and then let our work speak for us. So basically, what you're saying is let your results speak for you.
And we were in multiple sports. So it wasn't like we had to choose tennis. We were thriving in everything because of who our gym teacher was. So I just remember him one day saying, pick a sport. And I was just like, cross country and tennis. And he was just like, one. And I was just like, no, well, they complement each other. So I sat there. You told me to be built. So I'm sitting there telling you with all the details why they complement each other. And he was just like, okay, you know what? Fine, cool. If you can work it out, do it. Mm-hmm.
Indeed. And shifting back, Carla, like, after speaking about empowerment, why did you feel necessary to say, you know what, we need a women's empowerment summit in Bermuda?
Well, the summit initially was a way to make some extra money. So at first it was whimsical, right? It was a vision, but it was whimsical. So I was like, women tended to, so for me, my Facebook inbox, if ever someone should hack into my email, they'd find out everyone's secrets, right? Women tend to lean on me, or reach out to me or vent or want advice, etc. And I have women who I do that with as well. And I thought, you know what? There's a lot of women in Bermuda, and I say this all the time, who are walking wounded, who are smiling through their pain, who are pretending that they're rich and they have no money and in a happy relationship and they're hurting, what have you. A lot of women in Bermuda have that I've spoken to suffer or have suffered from depression.
Mhm.
But they have to put on this public face because whether they're an educator, a personality, just a mom, a wife, they have to perpetrate a fraud. And I wanted to create a space in which we can let our guard down, have ugly cries, celebrate each other. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna do this. So had the first one in 2016. And I thought I'd make some money too, because I was leaving Bermuda a few weeks later. The summit was great. It was impactful. Didn't make a penny.
Mhm.
But the women that kept asking, and I was just going to do a one-off because remember, I was leaving Bermuda. And women kept saying, we want more. And then women were saying, we want to follow up. So I said, okay, I'll have another one. And that was the second one. And then women were saying, but we need something in between because a year is too long to wait for more edification. And from that, I started the closed Facebook group, which is still, and we get men that try to enter. It's so funny, but it's all women. Right now, there's about 820 of us. We all don't interact at the same time, but everyone looks and they may not engage, but they absorb. And from there, it's grown. So here we are at year 5.
Interesting. So, I mean, when I think of empowerment, obviously empowerment means, as you guys just showed, different things to different people.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes people, confuse empowerment and charity, for instance. I'll give you an example. Is you have like book giveaways and like different things every year, like given to people, and there's kind of charity events. And for me, just to add my 2 cents, because I'm like, I didn't answer the question. What empowerment for me would be for people to be able to be able to provide people with an opportunity to do for themselves or do better for themselves. And then, next year this time or next month this time, they don't need necessarily whatever platform that I'm giving them, but they can still use it. So it's definitely, I look at when I hear about empowerment, I always wonder what spaces people come from, and I think it's based on shared experiences. It's really based on experiences. Obviously, there's a dictionary meaning of empowerment, but you got people that rely on politics and politicians for empowerment. You have people that rely on their parents and guardians for empowerment. You have people that rely on mentorship for empowerment, and then you have people who believe that empowerment can simply be having the ability to influence and improve something or some group of people around them. Go ahead, Carl.
With the empowerment that is my mantra for the summit is that to allow women to understand that it's okay. And I think that because, like, if you know me, I'm not pretentious. I'm just an everyday girl. I like to have a good time and I have a potty mouth when I'm not on the show. And people actually, some may not appreciate it, but many do. And people's like, oh my gosh, you say stuff that I never thought I'd ever hear in public, or you have the nerve to say things. And so for them, it gives them this, oh my goodness, it's all right to not be okay. And to me, and I've said this to my children many times, if I'm not okay, I can't be a good mom to you. If I have a partner, if I'm not okay, I can't be a good partner. And so women from all walks of life. Last year, I met a woman. I'll tell you this quick story. In the hair salon, I was getting my hair cut. And I had just come home, hadn't even been home 24 hours. And it was the lady who I'd known for years. And she just looked downtrodden. And so I was like, what's up? So she started to tell me. And I was like, you know what? The summit's tomorrow. Come. And she said, but I may not be able to. She explained why. I said, don't worry about that. Just come. No cost, just come. She came to the summit. She broke down and she cried her eyes out. She needed a job, etc. The women in the space, she ended up getting a consultation out of that. And now she's bountifully, she is what's the word? I can't think of it, but she's bountifully employed again. And everything shifted for her at the summit. And for me, that's what that space is about. So the one thing I'm huge on is no judgment. I don't care who you are. You could be a former drug addict, a prostitution. You could have 10 baby daddies. I don't care. Our space is for us to be able to be our authentic selves. And I think that, and that doesn't lead to big tangible things, but I think internally it means a lot when you can take that burden and just put it on the side and be able to live your life at its fullest.
You mentioned spaces. Why is it necessary to create these spaces like this to empower others? Like why why is it necessary for these spaces to be created?
Again, because so many women just think that they're in it by themselves, and because so many people keep the mask on. And I was one of those as well. You know, how many times that any of us, you say, are you okay? And you're really not, but you're like, yeah, I'm great. And then you get in the back room, or you get in the shower, or you get in the toilet and you bawl your eyes out. So I just wanted women to understand that being imperfect is perfectly fine.
And Evelyn Pitt says, Wes helped me grow so much within myself and to be more confident within. I say thank you so much, Carla, for creating such a safe space for us women to share. So with that said, what do you look for like in the next one? So the Women's Empowerment Summit, it's fifth year. I actually did.
It's fifth.
Fifth.
And do you look back and say, okay, like other people that attended and like Evelyn just said, how it's improved her? Do you go back and see how people are doing and how it's improved them and so on?
Well, when I started to realize that it was becoming like a movement, I realized the importance of continuity, because usually I keep an eye out every year for different women. And so one year I had a woman who had been homeless, a mom. I had Danny Penn, who everyone knows she was a refugee and moved from her home country. And
everyone don't know that. I honestly don't know who she is.
Oh, I'm sorry. So Danny Penn lives in Bermuda, and she was I want to say Danny's Cambodian. I may be wrong. I'm so sorry, Danny, but her family was uprooted and it was a war. And literally the family that survived were basically dumped in the States, in Canada, and left to survive for themselves. So she told her story about how she came from this area region as this gang banger and then went on to become, educated. She's now the director of Raleigh International in Bermuda. So I picked different women who I think their stories will impact others. And then we do Q&A. Last year we had a workshop. So Talana Jeffers was someone that did a workshop, and she talked about tapping into your greatness. Well, Talana's coming back this year because we're having a virtual. COVID has been a blessing because this year it's a virtual event. So women, there are no barriers because, of course, with technology. So so far I've had a woman from Africa. I got a few from the UK, US, Bermuda, Canada, Bahamas. So I'm really excited about it. But again, they just people want that connection. If you're into connections, like I'm a people person, so I like knowing that I can make a difference in someone's life, and that's what we do.
Gotcha. Want to hear from the audience. What is what's empowerment to you? What do you look for empowerment? Obviously, you have a daughter, and you have 2 sons. When it comes to empowerment, as a mother of 2 boys, what does it look like? As you know, we've spoken about women's empowerment, but what does empowerment look like with 2 boys? I mean, Jackie, you have 2 older sisters. You're the youngest, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You spoke of your father, and obviously you being the youngest is always the brat. Were you the brat?
We were all brats.
No.
Brats.
No, were you the brat to your 2 older sisters?
Absolutely, they were my best friends.
She looked like, just like, should I say it? Should I say it?
But absolutely.
But obviously,
I always wanted to be in that space.
You have great relationships with your sisters, and from an empowerment perspective, what roles did they play in showing you the way?
Okay.
Oh yeah,
it's so hard to narrow these things down, right? Because there's so many different stories of how they've helped me. Tara was my doubles partner, and we traveled together everywhere. And then when I was home, I had Crystal that used to drag me around like a little tag along to me. And so how did they help me? they just always kept me in a space and an environment where being who I am was okay. So if I want to be loud and rambunctious and run off down the street doing cartwheels, they'd be like, yes, do it. Do those cartwheels, keep your legs straight, point your toes. And they just encourage my ignorance. On the tennis court, they will always say, you're the best, go out there and do it. If you want to win, put your mind to it and do it. You're more than capable of doing it. So they always, it's kind of like the, I don't know if you guys read the book, The 5 Love Languages. They just did everything to make sure that I was me and not afraid to do it.
Yeah. Well, anyone who doesn't know Jackie, what you just stated, if you see somebody doing cartwheels, that might be her. She's not
off a boat with a gingerbread bottle in her hand, or off a pool ledge in a chair.
What you're saying is so important. Like her sisters, a lot of they said, go be yourself. Like this is why they're in this space with her. Like this is the authenticity that we're talking about. And they said, go express yourself. Be who you are.
That's my whole family.
This is what people need to understand about authenticity is if you're not who you are, the same people are not gonna like you. If you are who you are, the same people are likely not gonna like you. I think people are focused on changing things about themselves so that people can like them or they can be accepted, and that plays a big role mentally on individuals.
And that's the thing. And I tell people all the time, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I'm okay with it. And I think a struggle I had at one point was trying to adapt, or I didn't like the fact that someone didn't like me, especially if they don't know me. But when you realize is that for every person that may like you, there might be 2 who don't. And that's not your problem. As I always say, that's none of my business. You asked about my boys and my daughter. With the boys, for me, with women, it's teaching them how to treat a woman properly. So my boys know you open a door. My boys know, like they would say, do they need help? If they see someone who they think is struggling. More so when we were in Bermuda, but because out here, in the UK, stranger danger and stuff. But they
in this liberal world, a man could get slapped for trying to open a door for a woman. She'd be like, I'll do that myself in this liberal world. But go ahead.
Right. But then also how to respect a female. So my children know I'm loud. They know I'm boisterous. They know I'm not shy. My daughter at 19 is way farther ahead than I was at 19. And I'm proud of that because I've used my life lessons as templates for them to see, in most cases, what to do, but also in some what not to do. And that goes into what you're talking about, authenticity. I used to hide a lot from them if I was stressed or whatever. As I've spoken publicly, I have suffered from depression and I would hide it. But showing them that it's okay to be weak, I think it helps them to understand the range of emotions and that it's okay for them to be weak as well. But for my daughter, I mean, she is so firm in what doesn't attract her, what type of male she may be attracted to, what she definitely doesn't like. And I love it because at 19, I was not there. So, you see it. You may not give them the specific lessons all the time, but by infusion, they get it.
Let's go to the comments. Nikki Michelle says, Bermuda is a land of fantasy. Really, is it what it's portrayed, what actually is? We are all trying to keep up with each other. It's an awful hamster wheel to grow up in and attempt to thrive in. Unless conscious choices are made to hop off that wheel, we raise generations and eventually die under toxic delusions. Safe spaces and tools are beyond important to break this out. Look, I wish there are some comments that come in that I just want to post up and go into other shows for weeks. And that's one of them because there's so much in that. I've read posts this week and they're just repetitive posts that people have put up on social media for years. But one of the posts I came across was social media and the role it plays in people's mental health. I think it was Charlemagne the God that quoted it previously. He said, people use social media to compare their lives with others rather than to engage with people and share with people. That's one part of that I'm going to add to that, what Nikki said. Also, what actually is, one of the things I've learned, I was I've worked with some people in Bermuda like Teo Deal. And I love to watch people like Stephen A. Smith on First Take ESPN and Shannon Sharp with Skip Bayless. These are energetic, loud personalities that are going to say things that people don't like often. And in Bermuda, with a rather conservative culture, I guess we can say it's a conservative culture, there were things that Teo would do back in the day that would push limits and make people uncomfortable. And when I think back, it was like he said or did nothing wrong. Like he legit didn't. He was never, derogatory. He just literally called things in a manner that people were not used to. And now we do this show, and it's like, I offend someone every day. No apology meant for it. And this is not an apology. But I say that because in order to empower people sometimes, that means that there's going to be levels of uncomfort. And I don't think, and I'm responding to Nick's comment, like, I don't think we're ready to be uncomfortable to be empowered.
And Jamal, I remember because I do these weekly lives on Wednesdays, right? And I remember one night I was just so heavy and I was going to cancel it because I knew I was going to cry. And I was like, hold up, you're here providing this platform for women to be their authentic selves, and you're not willing to be authentic. Like, I check myself at times, and I remember I logged on and all I said was good night, and the tears started flowing. And again, it was all virtual, but these women comforted me. My cousin had died and 2 people had died really close together, and I was just heavy. But again, that's where it's so important for people to be okay. Like, even down to a Sunday dinner. I'll give you an example. Sunday dinner traditionally is big spreads, right? So I would be busy with football all day and then want to try to cook a dinner and feel bad because I wanted to give them pizza. Mm-hmm. But I was like, I tell any person, perfection is what works for you. And that's fine. And I think people need to be okay. Dealing with truth, a lot of people can't handle that. And people say, well, the truth, it's 3 sides to the truth. The person who the truth hurts the most is to the person who knows you're telling the truth. Pick the bones out of that.
Terry Too Cool says, empowerment is legit why I started Sovereign Life brand. Being authentic about finances is taboo. This is key. And I'm glad she spoke because she'll be at the Women's Empowerment Summit, correct, Carla?
Yeah, she's one of my speakers tomorrow.
And I say this because there was a time I said, and I've said it on this show, everyone was starting a podcast. And I wanted people to kind of understand, like, her podcast is filling a niche. Like, it's one of those things where, it was only, and I think I may have told this story on the air before. It was only like 5 years ago. I had a friend of mine in New York City who went to do her daughter's taxes. And the tax man said, all right, so where does she invest? Oh, invest, just got a savings account. Whereas to the point where, Black people are filling up these savings accounts and we're not even familiar with investments and stocks and bonds and mutual funds, right? So this is the type of empowerment that, like, what she does is a type of empowerment that our community desperately needs. And like she said, being authentic about finances is taboo. Like, this is something that logistically will take us from like 0 to hero in a day if we can just understand it. So I'm grateful that you have a person like her there to speak about it. Clinton Painter says, big problem in Bermuda. Where are the men's groups? Where can we have conversations and get help, non-judgmental help? Where can we learn from each other as men, not look down upon each other? I added that. We maintain this wall, but there's so many of us broken inside. Here's something that I want to share with you, Clinton. Those groups for me are my WhatsApp groups. The amount of times me and my boys, we be like, yo, bro, this group's like therapy. A lot of us go through the same things. It could be jobs, right? It could be like starting businesses. It could be trying to put stuff together. It could be dealing with the stresses of everyday life. But our actual WhatsApp groups are our therapy sessions. Now, one of the things I've realized is and we have to speak about this if we're talking about empowerment and health and mental, is, Bermuda has a heavy drinking culture. And a lot of us get together in these groups drinking, believing that this is part of our help, our recovery, healing process. Thank you. Our healing process, right? So I think when I think of men groups, they are needed.
Can I say something to that?
Mhm.
I actually planned on having a men's empowerment summit, right? But for me, it was important for no females to be in the space. So I would have put everything together and had a male. And then it came to a stalling wall, because then it was that thing. How many men will come forward and believe that it's a safe space? Because men are very difficult sometimes with showing emotion, because of course what we're trained about men and emotions. So it's been on my agenda, but I didn't want it to be led by me, because I think it's important to have it led by a male for males.
Well, yeah, I definitely agree. I think the same way I don't think a man belongs in the Women's Empowerment Summit. I don't think a woman has any business near a men's empowerment summit. Just to keep it absolutely
I
real.
agree 100%.
That said, there are many. Let's be very clear. There are men who have tried to do things. Here's the problem. Here's the problem in Bermuda. And I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this show right now would agree with what I'm about to say, unless they're so smitten with their politicians that they legit cannot separate themselves. The problem with men's groups in Bermuda, they're always used by politicians or aspiring politicians to fulfill that need on their resume or check that box. That's one of the biggest problems in Bermuda when it comes to empowerment with men and even volunteerism and so on. It's always this check a box vibe, like I'm doing this for my political career or doing it for my resume. No one seems to do it. Like, I'm not going to talk about myself because this is not about me, but there are people around me who do a lot of stuff in terms of empowerment that you would never know that they're doing. And they do it with groups of people. That to me is what empowerment is. It's when, you see, I'm going to use Colin. Colin came on the show recently. Colin Rigo is the gentleman who owned Sargasso. Now, I'm going to use him since he's the obvious story that came to my head first. What he's doing right now is empowering people through employment. And before we wrap up and go to the Daily Play, this is what I want people to understand from my perspective, nothing else about empowerment. It's important to know the difference between empowerment and charity. They are not one in the same.
Can I do my lineup real quick? 2 seconds?
I wanted you to talk about who's going to be appearing. Go ahead.
Okay, so in no particular order, so off the top of my head, we have Erin Weller, who's going to discuss how God has changed her life. Teresa Stewart with money. Joy Campbell, who's going to be doing what's called some new shoe prompts, which is something new. Patrice Frith Hayward is going to share her, do a piece on the necessary of abundance. Devonna Samuels, who's an educator, she's going to speak on blessed but not broken but blessed, and talk about her journey. And then we have Waynette Hollis, who's out here in the UK, who's going to talk about creating a master mindset. And then Talana, who says get rid of being the self-help junkie. Talana Swan Jeffers, who's going to present from Florida. And then we have Rochelle Richards, who's going to do art therapy. So she's going to help us have some worksheets and everything on how to get rid of intergenerational trauma. So if you want to purchase the ticket, shehub.tv. If not, tune in as well as, because we're going to give away 2 tickets to the summit if you tune in to Daily Hour Unfiltered right after this show. And those are being donated wonderfully, thank you so much, by the Brand Lion.
Absolutely. Back to the comments. Dijon says men groups are a power move, not an empowerment empowerment one too politicized. I agree. And Mia Hartman says Darius has a men's group every Tuesday at Herod Chapel at 5:30. Darius Richardson. So good to know that. And I think Carla has a relationship with Darius as well. But looks like a good lineup. So if you don't have a ticket, get with it.
It's tomorrow, starting at 10 a.m. Bermuda time.
Don't do that. Be sure to join us on the Daily Hour Unfiltered for more information. We want to help you win tickets. But if you are not a winner, you're not a loser because you still have the opportunity to purchase. So make sure for more information, you tune in right after this to the Full 100 Radio. We have to do the daily play, which I really think Carla's running from. I really think she's running from it. And look, let me say this here. We're talking about empowerment. I've tried to empower Carla for giving her extremely easy questions.
I've been good. Come on now. It's a picture today, right?
Yes, it is. Jackie, you ready?
Yep.
This is too easy, honestly. If you guys don't get this in 5 seconds, like seriously. All right.
See, now I'm nervous. I'm gonna have a blank.
Help them out, friends. Help them out, friends. Help them out. This is it.
That's Tucker's Point, ain't it?
See, she got it right off.
These where rich people hang out. I am not bougie.
I'm not rich. I just have rich friends that I go with.
I just knew she would get it one time. Like I didn't tell you she would get it one time.
I have never seen Tucker's Point in my life. That looks like somewhere in Jamal's part of the woods in Fort Lauderdale. Jackie, high five, boo, because if you weren't her, I would have been saying somewhere.
Oh my God. This is my first win. This is the first guest that I've gotten right. Give me my
You didn't hear it? You didn't hear
it? Fireworks. Where's the fireworks?
Hold on. Because you got that, it's only right that I do another one.
It's doing an easy one for me.
This one's even easier. Here you go, Carla. This one's even easier. Here you go.
Oh, Hamilton, Furman Hamilton.
Okay.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud. See, what I did there, Jackie.
I didn't want to answer for her.
What I did, Jackie, is I tried to bring it closer to her home so she can't say it to the bougie people. All right. My goodness. You got it. This was great. So look, folks, look at the bottom of the screen. Download the Full 100 Radio app available for Android and Apple devices. You want to catch the conversation on the Full 100 Radio. It's going to be an unfiltered conversation. Carla is going to be giving away 2 tickets for the Women's Empowerment Summit. All right. So once we sign off here, immediately sign on the full100radio.com and join the conversation. You don't want to miss it. We're talking about the recent announcement that happened with UPS, where people will now be able, and you've seen it happen in states recently, right? People are now allowed to wear their natural hair and facial hair. Carla's shaking her head. She has a lot to say. Oh my goodness, this is going to be good. It's a half an hour. We can't give you another whole hour. Come on, Tara, we can't give you another whole hour. All right. So look, any final things before we head off to the other side, you guys?
Yes. If there is a woman listening, or if you're a gentleman and you know of a woman who could benefit and she cannot afford the ticket, please let me know, because there is a charity part to this where I will give tickets to a woman who really wants to be in this space.
Any final words, Jackie? She's got a lot.
There's so much to say, but yes, if you have a sister, you have a mother, you have a daughter, make sure you preach love into that person, because that is where the confidence comes from, and that's where they are going to be able to be their most authentic selves. And the world needs you to be you. We have enough fakes running around, and honestly, for your mental health, being you is so vital. That's it.
All right.
I'll talk more about it in a minute.
We love you, and we thank you for making this part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll see you in a couple of minutes on the full100radio.com.